How long have you been painting, and what first drew you to it as your primary medium?
I think I was a painter drawer from the very beginning. It was an obsession of mine from a very early age. And it was always about trying to get things right. Like I really wanted to draw things correctly because I knew in my head how it should look. So it was something that I was just driven to do from a very early age. And when I was in college and decided that art would have to be my major, because it was something I did on my own in high school, because I didn't like my art teacher very much. I just did, it was like not that interesting to me. So I just painted and did stuff at home. And then when I went into college, it was like, yeah, of course I'm going to major in art. Of course I'm going to do this. And it was just a language I understood, but I did a lot of ceramics and I did a lot of other things. But for me, painting was the storytelling medium for me. So I could use it as an illusion into a different world, a different kind of experience. So that's kind of what drew me to it. And it's just been the one that I know and understand this language.
How do you balance teaching technical painting skills while encouraging students to develop their own style?
Well, I think their style shows up very quickly. So I definitely do not want students to paint like me. I want them to paint the way they just naturally kind of gravitate towards working. So you can see some students are more expressive and have a little chunkier kind of style. Maybe they put on a lot more paint on that surface. I just push them to keep doing that. They will understand that medium just as well with a certain style attached to it or a certain way of working than they would if it was really hyper detailed and really refined. So it's all really ultimately just giving them a voice, but with the technical understanding of the medium. And that's for me the goal. I want them to understand it, but also be able to express what they want to do with it and utilize it in any which way that they get a lot of enjoyment out of. So yeah, just going in, I think just full on things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I will. Do you think learning traditional techniques changes the way students approach their creativity overall?
I agree. I think 100%. I think that if you don't understand the technical side of things, you are always going to be trying to solve those problems. And so for me, when I started taking classes as an undergraduate, we didn't learn the basics of how to set up a palette, the basics of the materials that we were using. It was just like, just paint, see what happens. Well, that's great. But I was like, yeah, but how do you do a figural paint? How do you describe this? How do you do flesh tone? I mean, there was no instruction. And it just was from its time. So my personal ethos was always, you have to understand the medium before you can either ditch it, but you'll always know how to do it. So if you wanted to go into very abstracted kind of experimental painting, that's great. But you could paint an apple pretty realistically if you wanted to. And I think you have to know how to do that.
In a time when digital art tools and AI are becoming more common, why is it still important to teach traditional painting?
Because it comes from your gut. I think painting has a lot of baggage because of its art historical precedence. It's just heavy, but it's just paint. And you can mimic in AI what painting does, but when you use your hand, And when you use your understanding of color and you use this material, I think it engages the brain in a very different way than what a computer basically does as an amalgamation of pre-existing imagery. And so it can be kind of sexy to see what AI does, but ultimately I think it's very soulless. And I think it's our humanness that comes through the act of creation that gets lost.
What do students gain from working with physical materials like paint and canvas that they might not get from digital tools?
Again, the same thing. When you kind of find this language of paint and you understand its vocabulary and you understand that you work with color in a very specific way and you work with brushes in a very specific way, it's just something that I think there's something that happens with your hand when you work with your hands, and how that engages your brain is very different. If you see students who come over here from like engineering or a really strong science-based background and they take a drawing class, they come away with a really different understanding of their own brain and the way their brain works and the way they see, because they're being challenged to create and really think about things very differently. And that happens a lot. And so with paint and the tools of painting, I think it's the same thing. I think people can do really interesting things digitally. And I don't discourage students from using digital tools when they're manipulating imagery and playing around with color and filters. But ultimately, it's through the act of painting that things kind of organically emerge and become, I think, more visually interesting.
What do you hope students take away from your painting classes beyond just the technical skills?
I think I want them to know that it is a medium that they can use in any which way they want to. So my initial desire is to have them understand what it is and how to work with it so that they can then do whatever they want with it, because painting does not have to be hyper realistic. It can be, but it can also be really expressive as a medium. It can be thinned out, it can be abstracted, it can be manipulated in a multitude of ways. So for me, I want them to have a really strong innate understanding of it and then be able to take it wherever they want to go with it and want to keep doing it.
What is the most rewarding part of teaching painting to students at the University of Wyoming?
I think particularly in Painting One, seeing the students leap forward from a first project where maybe there's a little bit of confusion about the medium, a sense of like, oh no, it's really hard, to suddenly doing the next couple of paintings with real confidence and accomplishment, and then taking that into additional classes where finally by their third class in painting, they're just doing a body of work based on what they want to do because they already understand it. And to see that leap where people are just kind of struggling a little bit, like, how does this work? To suddenly doing something that like really shows a certain understanding of the material, but also a real passion for it. That's what I really enjoy.
What advice would you give to students who are just beginning to explore painting?
Just be open about it. Most students come in with a pretty open kind of idea about what they are going to do. Don't be afraid of it. It's just paint. But getting them into the understanding of the material, the way it works, and the way they can express certain ideas with it, I think is the biggest hurdle, is that they have an idea in their head when they first start a painting class of how things should look. And trying to get them out of that way of thinking, of that sense of perfectionism, that sense of it's got to look a certain way. It won't, but it'll be different, and understand and appreciate what ends up happening when you just let go of that preconceived idea about how things should go. Then they have more freedom to be more expressive, but also to learn a lot more about the material.